The big headline was no collusion. Well, today he made good on his promise to release much more of the details of it. And joining us now via Skype from Washington, D.C. is our friend Joel Pollack, senior editor-at-large at Breitbart.com. So great to see you again. Help us out. I mean, we went through that 4-page memo and what it meant, no collusion, no obstruction, a few weeks ago. Can you explain what was new today other than more of the report was shown?
Not much was new at all. There are some details of things the president is alleged to have said about the Mueller investigation, that he wanted to fire Mueller, that Sarah Sanders said something misleading about FBI agents being unhappy under James Comey, little tidbits here and there. Most of what we are hearing has been heard before, partly because the Mueller team seems to have leaked a lot to the mainstream media. So there's not much that's new here in terms of facts. What is new is the forceful way that William Barr asserted in his presentation of the Mueller report that there was no collusion and no evidence that Trump or any other American colluded with Russia, and his explanation of how he and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein came to the conclusion that there was no obstruction of justice. And he used an interesting, perfectly valid argument, but one we hadn't heard before, which was that the context mattered. And the context was that, first of all, President Trump had been very cooperative with the investigation, had not sought privilege, had not sought to see the Mueller report in advance, had made witnesses freely available to the Mueller team. And secondly, that Trump was frustrated with what he saw as efforts to undermine his presidency by the media and by law enforcement. And many of the things he said or did about the special counsel's investigation can be viewed in light of that frustration and not as an attempt to obstruct justice. So that was a context that we hadn't heard spelled out before. The Democrats are furious about that. They say that Barr is providing excuses for Trump to have obstructed justice. So both sides are coming away from that press conference saying different things. The GOP, Republican Party, saying that this is further vindication of Trump. That's certainly how Trump sees it, probably how the rest of the country sees it on the whole. But Democrats and the media are saying, wait, maybe there's meat on this bone after all. They're going to go after Barr. They're going to say that he misrepresented Mueller's investigation. And they're looking at parts of Mueller's report that suggest there were efforts perhaps to do something wrong, or that Mueller is even inviting Congress to impeach the president on its own. He suggests in the report, for example, that Congress can investigate obstruction of justice even if it doesn't meet a criminal standard for prosecution. And that doesn't interfere with the president's powers. The president can still be impeached for obstruction of justice, even if he didn't criminally obstruct justice. So the Democrats are trying to turn this into an opportunity to start impeachment hearings, to continue investigating. It's almost like a perfect scenario for Trump because on the one hand, he's been exonerated. He's not going to be charged with any crimes. There's no collusion. And the country's top law enforcement officers said there was no evidence of obstruction of justice sufficient to warrant prosecution. At the same time, his political opponents are going to remain obsessed with this Russia collusion conspiracy theory that the rest of the public now is getting tired of. And instead of moving on to issues perhaps where Democrats might be stronger, they're going to be obsessed with this endless investigation. And I think it's a great political win for Trump on both counts. No collusion, no obstruction on the one hand, and Democrats continuing to be obsessed on the other.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest. And then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at therebel.media/shows.